Grief is an apple with many varieties, only some in season. The lush catalog of absences you live with now, plus nostalgia for healthier selves. Where winter holds its hostages, the driveway under ice, the woodpecker who goes on pecking anyway because it can. The magic of disappearing friends is harder to believe than you might have imagined, harder to swallow. Even had you been able to imagine the sort of all this, even had you found comfort in the labyrinth, joy in the exile, trust in the first tart slice.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit. Why is that? What did that say to you, or either one of you, or all of
There's
us?
so much that I love. I love the image of the apple and the varieties of apples and how they're all a little different.
We all are gonna die. 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 Why don't we help each other prepare for it? Without death there could not be life. I'm talking about end of life conversations, conversations about the end of life. Death and dying, grief and loss, conversations about the end of life.
Greetings, friends and listeners. Welcome back. On this episode, we are honored to host Sarah Sawyer and Gus Reid. Sarah is a writer and longtime friend and colleague of Andrea. She is also a chaplain focused on psychedelics and end of life, and who is based in Boulder, Colorado. Sarah reached out to us about her friend's posthumously published poetry work, To See Yourself as You Vanish. In her last 3 years of life, Andy wrote this fierce, frank, and witty poetry that explores grief, treatment, and end-of-life issues. She says things most of us are afraid to speak out loud, and she shares them in hopes that it will support others on their journey.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful collection of poetry. We're also very happy to meet Gus. Gus Reid is Andy's husband. Gus is a software engineer who works on proton radiation equipment at a place called Mevion, based in Boston, Massachusetts. Andy's book of poems is genuinely moving, especially as I'm currently caring for my own wife who's terminally ill. And she's also, as Andy was, Ashkenazi Jewish in her culture. So some parallels there. So, and I think that's maybe part of the reason it struck me as so deeply as I was reading this poetry. I've been really looking forward to this interview and the opportunity to hear more about this poet, this remarkable person, and his wife and his friend. And so, yeah, thank you so much for joining us, both of you.
Yes.
Thanks for having us.
So we like to start, this kind of gives us a feel for everybody, and you can take turns, about when you first became aware of death.
So I come from a long line of pastors and social workers. As a child, my dad would bring me along to services and hospital visits for people who would enjoy having a kid around. So I've been around funerals pretty young age. I've been on a few cancer journeys with close friends and family members. My uncles were activists during the AIDS crisis, so I got a lot of really great modeling of dealing with death and grief and community grief then. So it's been around for me.
Thank you. Gus, how about you?
Well, I was thinking about this. I think, like a lot of people, it would have been the death of a pet when I was pretty young. The child, it was our cat, Misty, for me. I remember that my sister wrote a poem about this cat, which has since become kind of famous within our family. We loved our cat Misty. We gave him the best, but his liver packed up, and so did the rest.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh.
That's great. Thank you.
So, yes, pets have a way of informing us on death, and that poem definitely kind of stamped this idea into your being. Gus, can you tell us about how death impacted your whole life? Like, how did it kind of weave into your life to bring you to this moment?
Or more recently, yeah, obviously.
I mean, obviously, Andy's death was my biggest loss. It yeah, I mean, it pretty much just arrived on our doorstep one day, in early 2019. She was called into her OBGYN's office, and had a feeling and asked me to come with her. So that's when she was diagnosed. And I guess that wasn't death at that point. That was, you still have some chance, some opportunities for management of the disease, but yeah, it was really overshadowing the rest of her life. So
Yeah.
I guess that
Thank
was
you.
that. From that point onwards, I guess I was the primary carer for a person who was dying, as much as I was flatly in denial about it.
Yeah.
There are certainly places in the book where I show up, where I think that the point of view, like the writer's point of view, is much more she knew,
Mm-hmm.
happening, in ways that I was determined not to.
Yeah. Well, and I do want to invite you at any time during this conversation, if you have one of those poems you'd like to share. It's kind of, this is really about Andy and her work. So there's not one in there that I wouldn't think appropriate at any time. But yeah, Sarah, do you have a thought about how it's impacted your life, death in general?
Yeah, I think I've been on journeys with people, and I find that I'm comfortable talking about death, and that I'm comfortable being there for it. And for a lot of my friends, I'm the only person they know that has any kind of faith tradition and isn't evangelical about it. So I get a lot of calls when things happen. Um, and death and dying and grief is certainly one of those times I hear from people. So as I get older and my parents get older and my friends get older, I thought it would be good to be better at this than I am, which is when I started CPE. So CPE is chaplaincy training, for people who wouldn't know that. So yeah, it's been around for me and continues to be around.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, both of us have gone through CPE, so
Yeah.
thank you. But thank you for defining that as a good thing to do when you're on a broadcast like this. Can you tell us more about the currently what you're doing, but also more about just the story, if you'd like to share about why you asked to come and talk to us today? Yeah, and yeah, we just start with Sarah again.
Yeah, I think your podcast really stood out as one talking very openly about death and grief, and in a variety of ways, and that's very much half the audience for whom this book is for, and maybe even more than half. Like I think really, I mean, Gus, I want to hear you talk about this too, but a lot of her writing was very traditional poetry writing, a lot of memoir, a lot of, writing for the poetry audience. And this is a little bit different. This is writing for people who, it's a lot different, for people who share her experience, for people working with people who share her experience, for people who love people who share her experience. So we're really interested in getting this book to that intended audience of hers. And that was one thing that just really drew me here to you and your listeners.
Yeah, we'll definitely post the information about the book. Gus was saying earlier, it's probably going to be published in September. So we have a newsletter. We'll put it in there as well as on the podcast notes. So thank you. I can't wait to get my own copy.
Yeah,
thank
me
you.
too.
Thank you for sending the pre-copy for us to look at. It was so beautiful.
And this is just really quick bounce off of Sarah too. This book is for a lot of different readers. I'm a wannabe poet, so it's for poets.
Yeah.
It's for humans who want to talk about language and semiotics and what does a feeling actually have, what she, rails about, like, seriously, we're going to use that word for this. Like, like I read the one about dueling, like battling cancer.
Yeah.
And, I really appreciate that she has paved this ginormous super highway to talk about real things that everybody alongside the road could totally identify with. So
Yeah.
I just want to put that out because this is one of the best poets that I've read in quite a while. And Joaquin and I read a bunch of poetry. So yes. But Gus, talk to us about this story.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, as Sarah says, if you read Andy's earlier books, especially the first one, it's a much more academic piece of poetry. The language is denser. This, it felt like she started writing this in kind of that mode. A very good friend of hers was part of a group of poets who were writing together during COVID lockdown, which was really what got her writing again. And a number of fragments and poems came out of that. But the book didn't really start taking shape until she was reading it with cancer support groups. And that's really when I think she realized what her audience needed to be. And that set the way that she wrote the book and how the poems were pulled together. I guess it was individual poems. It didn't become a book in her lifetime. It was a big stack of poems, is what she left us. But yeah, she had that as an audience. She was getting a lot of feedback from people that struggled to express how they felt. And Andy was a really great writer. She was expressing things that, I mean, often it wasn't even that they didn't have the words to do it. It was that they kind of didn't want to say some of the things that she was saying, even though that she felt them. There's not a lot of comfort in the book.
No. Yeah, it's very, very straight up.
She was quite blunt. She was mad as hell about it. And a lot of that comes through in the book, I think. It's, I think, I don't know, maybe it's not my place, but I think especially women can be socialized to be quiet about those kinds of things and not really express how they're feeling. I mean, I'm sure many men as well, but Andy had this specific kind of gynecological cancer that that defined really who she was reading for and writing for.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Anger is a very legitimate and response. Certainly one that we've run into, that I've run into is in the work I've done. I'm sure Annalouiza has as well. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, is there any, maybe it's just a time, do you have a poem that you'd like to read? What do you think, Annalouiza? Should we jump into that?
Absolutely. I mean, I just, yes.
I would like to add just one little thing onto what Gus said that I think pertains maybe specifically to women, or maybe is more likely in women. I don't know. But this need to take care of how everyone else feels about your death, right? Like I'm leaving this for my so that you're all not sad, so that everything is fine. And one of the things that I so appreciate about this book is that these poems are not doing that.
No.
There's not a moment of it. And a lot of people in their lives I've seen, even talking to me about their death, like they want me to feel better about it. But I don't need, I don't want people to have to, well, they don't, but I appreciate that this work doesn't do that.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah, there's no coddling people. It's right in your face, and it's just perfectly so appropriate, I think.
It's appropriate. And what I just read like 3 of her poems before I jumped on here, but I love language. I just absolutely love how people can use it well. And most people don't know how to use words, or they overuse them, right?
Mhm.
She cuts it down to the very like finite edge of what a word actually means.
Mhm.
And she's going to have to explain it to you. It's almost like she's telling us, hey, dummy, like this isn't a battle. Like, you know, I did get up and pick up my sword. Like, I appreciate that because I rail against this with everything. I'm like, stop talking. Like, it's like you're not using language correctly anyhow. So you're muddling the image.
Mm.
But I believe this person actually knows how to wield the pen and say it and express it and teach us.
Yeah.
And also, you know, pull it all out of herself what she's feeling. So I'm like, I bow to
Yeah.
to her, to this entity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we read Languages of Iris? Is this a good time to do it?
That's the one I just
I know.
read. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm so sick of language.
It's a fan favorite.
I
Okay,
love
yeah.
that one.
Gus,
Yeah,
do you want to read it? Do you want?
Sure. I just pulled it up, actually.
Okay, great.
Great. Oh, so good.
synchronicity. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can...
Kismet.
Hmm.
Language is a virus. The first rule of fight metaphors is there are no fight metaphors. The second is, will you just stop kidding yourselves? It's not like you didn't already know how to be insufferable pilgrims radiant with judgment. They say, she lost her battle with, like it was a duel she entered at dawn, like she was ever in possession of a pistol. There is no fight against, there is live with for as long as humanly possible. And that's another thing I think you ought to examine. Why some lives are more salt in the wound than breath on the beard of an iris. There is the solitary devil of her disease. There are swing sets, volcanoes, the time she hurt her foot tripping over rocks near the river. How about mineral then? How about saying she has gone to the quarry, having found the dolomite of her dreams, having found the perfect shade of ochre? The die is not to lose. Survive is not akin to conquer.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm so glad we get to share this.
Mhm.
It's so important. Thank you.
Mm.
I was telling Annalouiza earlier when we were talking about it, I'm going to have a hard time reading any of these because I'm a crier, you know. Annalouiza said I can do it, so I'll let her read anything from us.
I'm a quiet weeper, not a crier, so it's easy for me to finish a poem.
Oh yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, it took me a while to be able to get through any of them, as you might expect, which
absolutely
made editing an interesting process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. That's something I'm still working on.
Well, and you know, I think poetry should be part of more people's daily lives. I was just mentioning to Wakil that I met somebody whose wife also has a cancer just this weekend. He came to my yard sale, and he like proceeded to tell me, you know, all the details. And what I noticed is that his eye was twitching and his eyes were full of tears. And there was a part of me, you know, as people were milling through the boxes of my, you know, of my memories, of my detritus, I wanted to say, let's just sink down and cry together, because you could feel how much he wanted to cry. And I feel like, you know, trying to read aloud one of these poems could actually be the medicine. Like, you know, we could just be like, just read this and just let it go where it goes. You don't have to finish it. Just let's like go as much as you can and have it integrate into you. And oh, it's so good.
Mm.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you have a favorite poem, Sarah, of hers? One of many?
Certainly one of them. I marked a few to read. And one I really love is Metastasis, which has a lot to say about grief, which I could read or we could talk about.
I'd love to hear it. Yeah.
Okay. Metastasis. Grief is an apple with many varieties, only some in season. The lush catalog of absences you live with now, plus nostalgia for healthier selves. Where winter holds its hostages, the driveway under ice, the woodpecker who goes on pecking anyway because it can. The magic of disappearing friends is harder to believe than you might have imagined, harder to swallow. Even had you been able to imagine the sort of all this, even had you found comfort in the labyrinth, joy in the exile, trust in the first tart slice.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit. Why is that? What did that say to you, or either one of you, or all of
There's
us?
so much that I love. I love the image of the apple and the varieties of apples, and how they're all a little different. Some are good for this, some are good for that. Some, and I think grief is that way.
Yeah.
It's never exactly the same. It's always different. It's changing. There are varieties of it. So I find that a beautiful big picture image, and then compared with this very, very daily life talk about the disappearance of friends.
It's not magic, yeah.
That that measurable thing that happens, that you hear about, but it is hard to believe when it happens.
Yeah.
And it's hard to swallow, I think I love the blending of that. And I do carry that apple image around with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it's almost like it's cognitive dissonance when people disappear, because the mind doesn't actually understand what just happened. How, it's like those videos of the pets who behind the sheet, the parent disappears and like, wait, what happened?
Right.
It's like
Right.
we sometimes hear about a death and we're like, wait, is that real? Could that really?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, I just saw them, or they're still in my. Their phone number's still in my phone, right? Like it's
Right.
just
Right.
very strange to metabolize a loss. And yet when we go through those little slivers of grief, it is a very different grief that all of us will experience
Yeah.
with that particular individual, right? Or
Yeah.
the death of whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They're still on Facebook,
Right. Right.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've heard that before too. And I remember, and this is another thing we've heard, and it's similar to what you're talking about, that there's that sense of how can the world continue to act normal, right, when that person is not in it. I had felt that with my mom, and I've had other people tell us that too. Just to, walk outside and see cars going down the street and think, what the hell's wrong with these people? Don't they know that the world just turned upside down?
Yeah.
And I mean, I felt like that when my wife was diagnosed, the same kind of feeling, like how can life continue the way it is when the world just got flipped? So, Gus, was there anything in that poem or the one before that really struck you or maybe another poem you want to share?
Sure. I mean, metastasis, that last line always reminds me of Andy's baking, because he was a baker. She always baked an apple pie for Thanksgiving, and that first tart slice. So now I've started doing that, although my apple pie does not hold a candle to hers.
Oh, but I love it because she's right there with you baking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something you were talking about was the connections of grief, and that everybody has a different grief. And one of the things that I found helpful was finding connections to other people who had shared some of the same grief and the same kinds of experiences, especially through history. I'm a bit of a folkie, you can tell by the beard. And there are a lot of what's the night visiting songs, where they're usually come down to us as ghost stories, where people are learning that their lover has died because they were visited in dreams, and they learn that way. And having gone through that and having had the dreams after losing Andy, I found that I think and I've found examples of this, like many of these were written by people who had lost people and had subsequently had those dreams where while you're asleep, you don't know they're dead. They're just visiting, you're hanging out. And when you wake up, you remember that they have died. And you can find traces of this in some of these songs. Like it feels like we've lost touch with some of that. I don't know whether this is a topic that's come up on your podcast before, but I know it's a common feeling amongst like in modernity that like we're not really in touch with death the way that people who, you know, in past centuries were. And there's one specifically, Lowlands, which is a sea chanty, and the final verse in it is what really drives home this guy's been through this. And it is, as I awoke, I heard the cry, oh, watch on deck, oh, watch ahoy. And it means, you know, you've just had this awful thing happen to you again, and now you've got to get up and go to work.
Great.
And that felt so, I just kind of felt the connection to that.
Right.
You know, over the centuries, that feeling hasn't changed at all.
Right. We still hold that feeling, but whether it's acknowledged in modernity, it's not. And I will say, my sister died in 2019, and that was when Wakil and I were in seminary together, and I had a week-long class, and one afternoon I just couldn't do it. I had just done the funeral and, you know, taking care of my kids and done all this thing, and finally I just was like, I've had it. I need to just go for a long walk. And I was in Berkeley, you know, just walking, just like random walking. And after a while I started, and I love how I framed it for myself. I was like, I was bawling like a calf, like walking down, you know, Shattuck or whatever with my little backpack and like open mouth crying and like snotting and just like stopping every once in a while and bending over and crying. And not a single person would look at me. Not a single person, you know, came up and said, are you okay? Nobody. The only person that did is I stopped to get a drink, and I was like, I think I'm gonna have a champagne to just celebrate, you know, this moment. And this person was like, really, what are we celebrating? I was like, my sister just died. Like, I don't know. Just like, I'm here. She was the only nice person to me that day. She was like, she asked about my sister, but there wasn't, like, in all of Berkeley, not a single person wanted to acknowledge that somebody was walking down the street crying.
Wow.
You know, so modernity does not allow grief to be out.
Yeah.
You know, it really is like, you got to get back up there and grind, like get back ahoy, like get on deck and just start working again. What are you talking about? So there is something that is very lost in our world where the loss of somebody does not bring forth like all hands on deck to just, you know, surround you, uplift you, or listen, nothing, or see you.
Yeah. I met a retired professor of thanatology, you know, death psychology, and yesterday, and he and a friend just wrote an article called Griefism. He said, you know, there's racism, there's all these other things. He said, this is what you're talking about exactly, that we back away and we don't want anything to do with people when we see them in grief, and we ostracize them. And that seems to be the kind of the culture, which is what we're doing here, is trying to get over that and create a different way of being with people. I do remember when I flew home when my mom died, and I was in the airport waiting for get picked up and weeping openly. And somebody did actually walk up, ask how I was, which I appreciated. So, yeah, but you're right. And most of the people standing around me were like, that guy's going crazy, you know, get away from him, you know.
I hope he's not in the seat next to me.
Right. Yeah. Well, great. We could do some more poetry. We could also ask this next question, which I forget which one it is.
One more piece of poetry, if that's okay.
That would be perfect.
Do.
Please.
Made me think of this one. The dazzling odds. Knowing what you know, the scuttle that finally breaks you, is not the image of your partner blinking at your empty kitchen chair remembering pancake sundaes, but the genuine epiphany of your own absence. Radiators still thumping through winter, black eyes still marking the roads with the motor of you missing. Not knowing what you can't know, do not deprive yourself of the chance that some stream is already rising. Some neon light burning in the body dares to untether itself and waits at the junction of here and not here. Not even science knows everything. What you're certain is rust in one light is easily ornament in another. Believe you'll live beyond expectation. Amplify the thought inside you.
Yeah, it's cognitive dissonance, but the radiator's still thumping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I just really, I can imagine how much good this will do for the people who are able to find, especially hopefully they'll be listening to this, but the people who are in this mode. I really am glad we get to help make sure it gets out there. So beautiful. Thank you.
Are these poems going to be also listed as an Audible book?
There is plan for an audiobook.
Oh, good.
I can find out more and let you know about that. There is plan to have one.
Wow. Got to get a really good narrator for that.
Good reader, yeah. Well, I can just imagine, like, sometimes, and I had a poetry teacher once say, you should never read poetry in your head. You have to actually read it aloud.
Yeah.
And I feel like, this is really beautiful language that needs to be heard and not just like, just processed through the brain.
Yeah. And also something I've been taught, and I witnessed David White, the poet David White, do this in person, reading it twice or repeating lines as you go. That's really been profound to me in the past. So we've done that actually on the podcast. We usually end with a poem, and sometimes we'll do it twice,
Read it
just because
twice. Yep.
it seems to, especially if we use two different voices, it seems to just kind of give you another chance to hear it again. So yeah, and those you want to read again, you're welcome to, or anymore. Those are great. I read it to Annalouiza when we were talking earlier, the one called Charming. Really, again, just really beautiful. I don't know if I'm capable of reading it, but maybe I will. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. Okay, it's called Charm. That's right. All right, see if I can do this.
If you can't, it's okay.
Yeah, that's right. I'll take a minute and breathe. So this is, thank you, my friend, for the gift of scarabs to ward off evil. But honestly, that ship has already left the harbor. I say this not from the depths of a depressive episode, but from a sliver of wise mind, from the peaceful center. If there is another alphabet to turn to, I'd like to know it. The one I have now, though vivid, is what they used to spell my diagnosis. So those are the letters I live by. Besides, there's hardly a need for talismans when truth is anyone can be perfectly fine one day and terminal the next. What brand of starlight is that? Which aurora's particles were charged with that decision? Just as celestial objects come and go from view in the night sky, diseases decide their visibility. There's not much more to it than that. Despite the language of warriors and battles, which is not to say you shouldn't charge at it with everything, stand where you can stand. Hang your hat on the slim ratio of stars. But don't trust too much in amulets or inklings or resolve, prayers placed on bird wings or in the house of your chosen Lord. There's no proof they have bearing on a cell gone rogue. By definition, a loner out for blood. Measure out gratitude with yardsticks and hope you are dead wrong.
I think Andy's a semiotician. She has such strength in using this language. Oof.
Yeah. What a gift. What an incredible gift.
Okay.
Sarah, did you have?
Yeah, I'm thinking about a conversation I had with, one thing to know is that Andy shared a lot of this poetry with people in retreats. And the retreat now includes poetry as part of their retreat. They had such a response to this work. So they open by reading a few poems, and then people write their own poems. And one of the women who wrote her own poems has really taken to writing poetry and is writing quite a bit. And I have been talking to her via email a little bit, and she was sort of apologizing to me for like not agreeing with Andy on the poems, going like, I feel like I want to fight. And I was like, you could have said that to Andy. Like that is, so we had this conversation about the fight language. She felt differently about it. And one of the things that I also love about this work is what a conversation opener it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's to conversations that, like we were saying before, maybe people are loath to have.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, this line, despite the language of warriors and battles, which is not to say you shouldn't charge at it with everything.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what
Yeah.
reminded me.
Yeah.
And honestly, I really wish she had fought with Andy, right? Because there is, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
Like
It's opening it.
whatever, it's all on a continuum of the flavor of death responses that you might also have, right? Just as an aside, like I'm going to do a surgical biopsy tomorrow, and my kiddo was saying, yeah, I talked to my brother and we were like talking how you're so death positive and you're so excited to die that you would never do chemo. So they're happy. My teenagers are like, what are we going to do if she has cancer? And I was like, well, it's interesting that we have this conversation, right? Like the values that we hold, and it's everything. But I think more people should have those conversations, because the opposite is also true. Like the assumption that everybody does the exact same thing when they're faced with a disease or like a barrier that happens to you from a health perspective. Like there are options, there are conversations that can be held. Like not everybody's going to like pick up your pistol and go for it, but but why not talk? Why not like throw it into the ring and say, let's talk about this. I'm not okay with that. Like, tell me more, on all of these topics. So I wish that person had been brave enough to actually go in the ring.
Right. Yeah. May we all be that brave. Yeah.
May we all be that brave.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Even, all of it. I don't know. I do appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, we are getting close to the time we want to finish up, but I want to give you one opportunity to tell us anything you wish we'd asked you about, and or share another poem or two. Gus, is there anything you wish we'd asked about? Or
I think I covered most of what I was thinking we'd be talking about. Hard to think of something. Did you have anything?
Do you want to talk about what you do a little bit?
Oh, I guess so. I never think I'm very interested.
I think it's interesting.
It is, and it
is interesting.
It's appropriate even.
Yeah. I mean, I work in the cancer treatment industry. Particle accelerators, we make radiation therapy machine. Which did make it a bit weird, I guess, coming to work while Andy was sick and shortly after she died. It's an unavoidable topic here. There's no way to kind of bury yourself and pretend that, you're just kind of working on adverts for social media or something. The details of what we're doing is like the patient is always involved. You're always thinking about that. Why is machine downtime bad? Because people have to reschedule their treatments. Why do you need to improve patient throughput? Because nobody wants to be in there for more than 10 minutes. It really sucks in that room. All of this. I certainly think that having gone to some of Andy's treatments with her, although she never had radiation, it did give me an appreciation for what people who are being treated are going through, which, being an engineer here, I'm always 3 steps removed from it, even though it's always, they're always front of mind. But just having a person to put in that mental model of who you're caring for. I mean, it's useful, but also it's hard because you always it just keeps coming up,
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, thanks for doing that work too. That's so important. And we were talking about this earlier before we started about the technologies keep getting better. So there's gives people some hope. And it certainly made a difference for my life because it's extended my wife's life at least a year now, and maybe we'll see, maybe longer, who knows. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Gus, and thanks for doing that work.
Mhm.
Well, if you can't think of something else to ask or to tell us about it, we'd love to have a poem or two to end, or maybe read one twice or something, So,
Sure. I guess since we were talking about what I do, it seems like clinical trial would be
oh
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
a poem. It's,
I'm scrolling through them here, so I've just saw that one.
yeah, it's one of my favorites as well. I love the
Hmm.
I love the imagery in this poem. Clinical trial. In exchange for a public chance at a longer private life, you give them not your body, but your body's one error in calculation. The swerve, detour, blunder unique to your system. You give them the soft scribble of your consent. In exchange for a future where you might run among penguins or consider the altitude of a lark, his small brown body racing vertically into the sky, you agree to be watched like a hawk. Asked hundreds of times if you're okay, if there's anything they can get you. Longer life, most people think. Glass of water, most people say, since there is often some small thing lodged in the throat. You remember that larks sing when they fly, unlike any other bird.
So good.
Larks sing when they fly, unlike any other bird. Yeah.
Mhm.
I love the line too about being asked what you want or what you need, and
That's for water.
the answer is water when the
Life.
real answer is I need a longer life.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Thank you. Sarah, is there another one you'd want to share to
Sure.
finish up? Or maybe
What have I
Annalouiza, do you have
done?
another one you'd like to read too?
Yeah, do you want to read
Well,
one?
Sarah, you haven't had a chance. Why don't we start with you?
I guess I would just say really quickly, one thing about Andy is that she was really fun. She was a lot of fun. This book is a snapshot of a time when she was not well and angry, and like she was goofy and very caring and very wanted to hear about your cat, like
Mm,
she was a lot of fun. I
I
I
Mhm.
love
think
her.
sometimes about this time, Gus, when you two were seeing trick or treaters, and a trick or treater had come up to get candy, and looked at her and said, "Velma," and she was just wearing her normal clothes, She just kind of looked like Velma, and she was so delighted by that. It was that kind of very.
Oh,
So I just like to say that for perspective.
I appreciate that a lot. It's wonderful to hear.
She
And
wore a lot
actually,
of.
it does come through, even though a lot of this is pretty
mhm,
hardcore. But it's certainly a
mhm.
sense of kind of a sarcastic look at life.
Right.
I don't know
Yeah.
that I'd call it sarcasm,
No,
though.
I don't know if sarcastic is the right word, but just
No.
taking things, thinking about things deeply,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
really being
there's that
willing
sort
to.
of
Yeah,
turn.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. This twist. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
thing that we kind of had to push for a little in the book. The earlier edits didn't have any of, or had taken out a lot of her sense of humor.
Mm.
hmm
We definitely pushed to put some of it back. So
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
It's you can feel that in some places for sure.
And also her attention to the detail of life,
Yeah,
right? Like, I'm over at Plain Okay, you know? Can I read that one really quick?
yeah. Go
I would
ahead.
love that.
Plain Okay for Lisa. How to return to the world its breath, gorgeous with sweet peas and the history of sweet peas. To return with your ghosts, absorbed or in exile. How to go, ears more open, to the harsh ascending sermon of red wings. Return without policing the body. How to say now, you're okay, minus all griefs. Parenthesis. Okay, for a person with cancer. Parenthesis for a fatherless child. Okay, for a person talking in circles, scratching at air. Parenthesis. Like, she's noticing so much all around her.
Yeah,
hmm
yeah, yeah,
Anyhow, oh,
yeah.
I'm
I
so
think
grateful to have met her today.
Yeah.
We're grateful for a chance to talk about the work. And one thing about that poem is Lisa is Andy's sister who catches babies. She's a,
Oh, really? She's
Yeah.
a midwife?
yeah, she's a nurse, but she's,
Okay.
and I find it so interesting that her work is really about bringing people into the world.
Yeah.
And Andy's work at this point is very much about helping people leave it. Like I find it really,
it's called life.
yeah.
Wink.
Yeah. I mean, it was not, an intentional thing at all, but it feels significant to me.
I'm glad I picked that one because now it's like we've gone full circle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Sarah, why don't you finish us off with one more and then we'll
one
say
more.
Goodbye. Yeah. We could just keep reading these for the next 2 hours, but
we have another podcast, my friend.
Yeah, I know we do. And we've got to, and we want people to get it and read it themselves. And so we will certainly give them a way to do that.
I'll read Trying to Meditate.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to meditate. Each day you wake wishing what is not, and that's no way to live. Even the doctors with their glassy words tell you to trust the dark coming on early in winter, even if it sounds ominous for your life in its current state. Even if it feels like the very sun being severed, trust nighttime, but that other lurking, the elephant not just in the room, but every human corner, is suspect. Adore it, they say, like the ancient puzzle it so clearly is. That's fine for fables and cones, but you are so through with tests of every kind. Even the ones that don't require a needle to access your port. The world asks so much of you, as though you are its daughter. Even as it yells and yells at you coming up the driveway, replaying all your errors and nightmares in its hatchet voice. You keep hoping it still loves you in a way you can't yet see.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Yes.
This is going to be something that I'll return to a lot. I haven't shared it with my wife yet, but I think I will soon. See how she feels about it. Anyway, I really appreciate you both, and appreciate you, Sarah, reaching out to us, and Gus being willing to spend this time with us. It's a big thing that went on in your life, and all we're all working with stuff. So I really appreciate the willingness to share your stories and this beautiful poetry, and sharing Andy with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I will.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure to be
It's been an
here.
absolute privilege.
Thank you for joining us today. Please stick around after the credits for our afterthoughts, and it helps our numbers if you stay until the end. We want to thank my children, Nate, Vivian, Nina, and her fiancé Asher, for the excellent opening song, and a special thanks to our awesome editor, Sam Zemke, who is also a guest on our podcast. You can listen to him on Season 4, Episode 5. Also, thank you to Charles Heaston, the composer of the original music you are listening to now.
And of course, thanks to you, our audience, and all of our amazing guests. Please come back next week for another great episode. Share this with your friends, family, and community. We hope you will subscribe and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Substack. Each guest's additional information will be found in the podcast notes. And of course, if you have a good end-of-life story to share, please reach out. We are always eager to hear from you.
Oh my God. That was maybe one of my favorite episodes, just because I love poetry so much, right? And what a gift to be able to just hear one poem after another. Yeah. So Andrea posthumously published her work, or they published her work, Sarah and Gus.
That's
What wonderful people, her husband and friend. So really, just to go from one beautiful poem to another is a perfect way to really honor her. And God, they did it with such love.
They did it with such love, and it was such a clear eye too. Like they really were able to transmit Andy's desire to not hide what she was going through.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated this one piece, which she said. One of them said, like, she wasn't going to worry about how you felt about her dying.
Yeah.
she was going to be very honest so that everybody could just be going through their thing in their own way.
Yeah,
You know, and I appreciate that, because we do tend to want to, like, you know, shelter others from the pain or your suffering, but, you know.
Yeah. And the show notes, the next, and actually the next newsletter that'll go out has a link to her book, which will be published by that time. So
That's right.
Absolutely something I would recommend everybody
absolutely
get and keep and just refer to on a regular basis. Wow.
right.
Just
I think this book will live next to Saint Mary Oliver for me, because a good poet, I find many. A great poet,
yeah.
this is one of them.
She is, for sure. Oh, what a blessing.
Yes. Again,
one more time, much love. Thank you so much for doing this with me. What fun we have.
Yay.
All right, I'm going to stop that. Oops. Okay.